Welcome into the DRF Sportsbook College Basketball Power Rankings March Madness Edition. We've taken the top 10 teams heading into the NCAA Tournament according to our computers, and we've ranked them 1 through 10, and we've included their odds to win the national championship and to see how we like them and their path to get to the Final Four in Houston, Texas. If you are in Iowa, you can bet all of these odds with DRF Sportsbook at ia.drf.com, or you can download the DRF Sportsbook app on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store to bet. And if you're not in Iowa, that's all right, because you can follow us at DRF Sportsbook wherever you're on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Just check out DRF Sportsbook for all of the exclusive angles, betting previews, everything like that, so you are always up to date on the best angles, the best odds you can bet on the sports betting market and heading into the NCAA tournament. So without further ado, let's jump right into our top 10, starting with number 10. The 1 seed, Purdue, they're plus 1,100 to win the national championship this year. And I agree with the computers putting them at number 2. They're an extremely one-dimensional team. They rely heavily on Zach Edey to get that entire team going. And we saw what happened in the Big Ten tournament. They nearly let Penn State, a team that shouldn't have even been in the game in the first place, stick around. Purdue was a 7.5-point favorite in that game, and Penn State ended up making it close late, a couple sloppy turnovers. And that's something that they're going to have to face a lot of in the NCAA tournament. Along with that, they have a potential date with Memphis. That's right, Memphis in the second round. Memphis takes on 9 seed FAU in the round of 64. So it's not a foregone conclusion that Memphis will be advancing, but Memphis just did take down Houston in the AAC tournament. So they are firing on all cylinders, frankly, and Purdue will have to face Memphis. And then FAU is also a really solid team, the Conference USA champion. They're really good. So a tough round of 32 matchup for the Boilermakers. And then headed into that Sweet 16, you can take on Duke, Oral Roberts, Tennessee, or Louisiana. Not an easy draw either. And then heading into the Elite Eight. So Purdue at plus 1,100, they have the worst odds to win the national championship of any 1 seed. And that right there is why. Not only are they gettable, but it's a very, very tough draw for the Boilermakers. Number 9, it's the 4th seeded Tennessee Volunteers. They're plus 3,000 to win the national championship. And there's a few reasons behind that. Zagai Ziegler, their stud guard, he's out. They were fading big time late. They didn't make the SEC semifinals. 6 of their 10 losses this season were on the road. They had 7 SEC losses. There's a chance that the 4th seeded Tennessee Volunteers failed to make it out of the first weekend. Pulling up where Tennessee is, you see them there. They're taking on Louisiana, the Sun Belt champions, in the round of 64, and then awaiting them in the round of 32 during that first weekend. It's either Duke or Oral Roberts, both solid schools, both tough outs for Tennessee if they can even get past Louisiana. And then from there, their path just gets harder. We talked about Purdue's tough path. Tennessee's on the quite literal same trajectory as the Boilermakers. So at number 9, the Tennessee Volunteers. Moving to number 8, it's the UConn Huskies. And UConn, they're number 8, but I think they are a really, really strong pick to win the national championship. They're seeded number 4. They're plus 1,600 to win the national title. They had that funky stretch in the middle of the season, but now since Valentine's Day, they've only lost 1 game, and it was a very close loss. So after they've plummeted down the rankings, UConn had to battle back all year to kind of move back up our power rankings. And now that they're back up there, I think UConn is a really, really strong pick to win the national title. UConn, you see here, they're taking on Iona in that first round. Moving from there, they're taking on the winner of St. Mary's or VCU, 2 really solid defensive programs. And then you kind of have if you're able to make it out of that first weekend, you have a somewhat easy path. We'll talk about Kansas in a little bit. I don't think Kansas is necessarily that great. So 4-seeded UConn at plus 1,600, I think they have a great path. They're a team that's peaking late, and they're extremely well coached. I like the Huskies at plus 1,600. I think they're a better team than the 8th best team, according to our computers. Our 7 seed, and we just mentioned them, the 1 seed Kansas, Question marks around Bill Self. He just was released from the hospital. We wish him all the best. He will be coaching the Jayhawks in the NCAA tournament, but just not sure about how healthy he necessarily is. And I know it's weird to be talking about the health of a coach, but Bill Self is a Hall of Fame coach, the best, if not one of the best college basketball coaches in the entire nation. And depending on how he is, it impacts the Jayhawks quite a bit. Yeah, they have Jalen Wilson. They're a really good team regardless, but they did just get 20-pieced by Texas in the Big 12 championship without Bill Self. So that question mark is huge. And at plus 900, I just don't think there's a lot of value there. They're going to have to run into UConn in that same area. And at plus 900, it means you assume Kansas would win a UConn game head to head. I'm not so sure about that. So at 7, I think that's just about right for the Jayhawks. The 2-seeded Arizona Wildcats at plus 1,500. They are number 6 in our rankings. They're solid top to bottom. Tommy Lloyd has done an absolutely fantastic job at the helm of Arizona. This is an Arizona team that they have a tough first weekend. They have Princeton in the round of 64, and then in the round of 32, Missouri or Utah State, both of which are really solid teams. So they do have a tough path ahead. So it's going to be difficult for them to get anywhere past, into the Final Four, because in that same bracket you have Alabama. Will they be able to get out of that South region? I just don't know. So 2-seed Arizona at plus 1,500. I like that. I agree with everything there, and I think they are about the 6th best team. According to our computers got it right there. Number 5, 2-seeded UCLA, the Bruins. I love the Bruins, folks. I know they lost Jalen Clark. I know that was the Pac-12 Defender of the Year. He's their 3rd best option on offense. That's a massive, massive loss. But did you see what they were able to do in the Pac-12 tournament? I mean, they lost by 2 to Arizona. They're a 2-seed. Their path isn't necessarily extremely difficult. Have to take out this lower third real quick. You see UCLA, they're going to take on UNC Asheville in that first round, then take on the winner of Northwestern Boise State. 2 very winnable games. Northwestern peaked in about beginning of February, late January, and it just seemed like they haven't really been able to reclaim or get back to that peak. And then Boise State is just an up and down team. Great defensively, offensively leaves a little bit to be desired. So I love UCLA. They're the 6th favorite to win. Over the last 13 games, they're 12-1, and their only loss was that 2-point loss in the Pac-12 championship to Arizona in the final second. Some questionable calling in that game. Also, we're not going to go down that path, but UCLA is legit. They're extremely well coached. They have a bunch of dudes on that team. They're experienced. They've been in this spot. Jaime Jaquez has been here. Tiger Campbell has been here. I love UCLA, and I think at plus 1,400, that's fantastic odds to get them. I think they're one of the better teams in the tournament. I expect them to be in Houston, Texas in the Final Four. Number 4, it's 3-seed Gonzaga. I love Gonzaga, folks. There's not a lot of expectations around the Bulldogs this year. They don't have a lot of NBA talent, but folks, they still have Drew Timme. They're still coached by Mark Few, and coming into this year, just not a lot of expectations around them, right? You look, they have Grand Canyon in that first weekend, and they're taking on TCU, Arizona State. TCU is a darn good basketball team, so that itself will be a tough matchup. But they're the best offense in the entire nation. They do have that tough road, but with the best offense, I think they can compete with darn near literally anybody in the nation. Defensively, it leaves a little bit something to be desired. They may not stop everyone. It may be a 100-98 type of game, but Gonzaga with the best offense at 3-seed at plus 1,600 to win it all. I absolutely love that. Then heading to number 3 in our power rankings, the 1-seeded Houston Cougars. They're plus 550 to win it. They're the favorites to win it all. Marcus Sasser's injury is going to be something to monitor. According to people at the game of the AAC championship, he was warming up. He looked good enough in warmups to go, but they probably held him out knowing that they were going to be a 1-seed regardless of that game. And at the end of the day, that game really didn't matter as much to Houston as it did for Memphis. So Marcus Sasser most likely will be able to go, but will he be 100%? Will he be his normal self? That is the question we don't really know, and we don't know how much that will impact Houston. They're a Final Four caliber team. They can do it. They're the 2nd best team in the tournament behind Alabama. You see them there, but something to monitor. They're playing in Birmingham, Alabama against Northern Kentucky. And then they could potentially be playing Auburn in what will be a road game in the round of 32 against a good Auburn team that's coached by Bruce Pearl. Of course, we're assuming Auburn will beat Iowa, and that itself will be a good game. But keep an eye on that round of 32 matchup. That second round matchup may be the toughest game to play for Houston to this point, because that's going to be a road game for the Houston Cougars. Number 2, the 2-seeded Texas Longhorns. I'm all over the Longhorns. I'm on the hype train for Texas. And I wasn't necessarily on it all the way throughout this entire season. I hopped off on it. I hopped back on it. But even during that 2-game little stretch, they had that tough loss to TCU where they were down big at halftime. They were able to battle all the way back. They blew out Kansas in the Big 12 championship. Rodney Terry has been downright awesome to this season. Coming in the interim, I think he can lead this Texas Longhorns team to a national championship. They have the best odds of anyone that isn't a 1 seed to win the national title at plus 1,300. I think that is some fantastic value. I think they have a better chance to win it all than Purdue does. I think they have a better chance to win it all than even Houston does, because Houston has a very tough game in that second round. There's a strong chance Texas doesn't even match up with Houston in the Elite Eight. Texas's road is pretty easy. Outside of, they also have a tough second round matchup between Penn State, who was in the Big Ten championship, and Texas A&M, who is a legit team. But then you got Iowa State, who plays the play-in winner, Xavier or Kennesaw State. Both Houston and Texas have tough second round matchups, but I love Texas. I think this is a team that has Final Four potential written all over it. And the fact that you can get them at plus 1,300 to win it all, I think that is fantastic value. They're the second best team according to our computers, and they have the 5th best odds to win it. That's where you love to jump on the train. And number 1, Alabama, another team that it doesn't match up with where our computers put them and where the odds are. Houston plus 550, the favorites to win it all. Alabama plus 700. So where the computers have them and the odds maker have them, slightly different. But I can understand why the odds makers have them at plus 700 rather than the first best team in the nation. There's a lot of questions around how this team will handle the turmoil around them. Brandon Miller, one of, if not the best player in the nation. There's no arguing that. What he does on the hardwood is absolutely amazing to watch. If the NBA draft happened tomorrow, he's the 2nd overall pick behind Victor Wembanyama, of course. But things are different in the NCAA tournament. Teams can control who asks what questions and what is allowed to be asked during the regular season, during the SEC championship. Teams have almost no control in the NCAA tournament. You have more eyes on you, have more press, you have more questions coming your way. How will Brandon Miller and the Alabama Crimson Tide and Nate Oates handle that extra pressure? I just don't know. This is a freshman we're talking about, so a lot of question marks there. But on the court, Alabama's the best team. They lean into analytics. They shoot the 3, and they shoot from inside 3 feet. You love that. They're the best team in the nation according to the eye test, according to the computers, and they have the 2nd best odds to win it. Alabama's it. Alabama's one of the best teams in the nation. You have them at 29-5 on the year, and they're taking on the winner of Texas A&M Corpus Christi or SEMO. And then from there, you're playing Maryland or West Virginia. Neither one of those teams strike fear into me. I think Alabama has what it takes to go on a run. So the computers put them at the 1 seed. I wholeheartedly agree. So thank you so much for tuning in to our Power Rankings. March Madness edition will be back later this week with the Iowa Wise Guys breaking down some of our favorite bets heading into the NCAA tournament. So be sure to subscribe to the DRF Sportsbook YouTube page. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are on social media. We're right there with you. Until next time, y'all have a profitable week. See ya.